Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, osia dem yopo.
Mr. Franklin Cudjoe, thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Franklin Cudjoe is the founding president and CEO of Imani Africa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure. And you're far too kind.
No. I think I'm a big fan of the work that Imani Ghana does in so far as our democracy is concerned. I mean, we need institutions like that to keep speaking truth to power, especially when we're dealing with a government that is hell-bent on, pushing a certain narrative. I think it's important that, you have very strong people, strong voices speaking truth to power. So I'm honored to have you on the show. I want to speak to a piece that I read, you wrote, that was just yesterday, about Electoral Commission saying that your response, your posturing about what is happening at SALL is false. And listening to the Deputy Chair of the Electoral Commission, Bosh Monasari, says it is not their fault. That is Parliament's job. And that when they presented the CI, Parliament was on recess. I want us to start that conversation from there.
Their levels of incompetence reached has actually gone beyond the roof. I don't know how to nicer in describing whatever they do at the commission. From getting basic arithmetic wrong to issuing statement and recalling the statement. Even the statement they issued against me concerning the SALL was sent ahead, and then midnight they sent text message to journalists and say, oh, there's a mistake. They corrected the mistake and actually made it worse, the final product. These are people who are lying, pathological liars as far as SALL goes. Look, Bridget, the timelines this gentleman is referring to, they are made up, essentially made up. There was a precautious attempt to actually deny the people of SALL. It was a grand plan by the local government, the government and the EC actually to do that. Because yes, it's true that they laid the process started in October, and so Parliament went on recess, and so they were stymied and they couldn't continue the process. That's fine. See, anybody who was interested in actually making sure we voted and were represented, we even go beyond 2020. Yeah. Admitting that there were processes that were obviously apparently beyond their making, which is a lie, by the way. What happened from January 2021 up to today? What happened? People die, members of parliament die, and within days or weeks, they are replaced. By-elections are held, and the EC is so much speed, it gets it done. People have been denied. Almost 30,000 people have been rendered stateless. And the EC, Bosmansari, Jen Mensah, Tribal Kweku have not for once apologized to these people.
So I wanted to reference that letter of 30th November 2020, where you were part of a meeting between the community and the Electoral Commission and there was an agreement that they will vote. Just walk me through how that
letter was written on the 27th of November.
Oh, 27th.
Addressed to the EC. And the reason, essentially the letter was warning the EC that if it did anything untoward and led to the disenfranchisement of SALL people, there will be consequences. Well, my elders approached me and I said, well, we can have a meeting with Jean. So I wasn't part of the meeting, but the meeting happened because I met them later. And they met with Jean, and the assurances were given that, look, there are problems, but you guys are likely to vote. Because the following day, which was the meeting was held on the 30th of November, and the following day on 1st December 2020, Samuel Tete, who happens to be the director for operations of the EC, spoke to the media and said categorically that, all SALL people will be voting in their mother constituency. There's a reason why he used the word mother constituency, because it was that which birthed them, really, and that there were processes the EC had begun processes to take us out of that constituency, the mother constituency, to a new constituency, but they had not completed. So the EC operations director knew that and understood that. Jean knew that and understood that. Then, after my people had left for a hometown, 5 days later, on December 6, 2020, the EC issues a statement clearly, without any basis, just said people of SALL will not vote in the parliamentary election. I know that they had packaged ballot papers prepared already for parliamentary. Right. I'm aware. Yeah. But they stopped it along the way and they never brought it. They never brought the materials. So the decision was taking 6 hours to the vote. I mean, who does that? Who does that? And the EC, by that letter, prevented my people from voting. This is trite knowledge. Isn't it strange that the EC now issues a statement that says I'm peddling falsehood, that they actually disenfranchise my people?
They claim, and I listened to an interview with the Deputy Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Bosman Asari, who said that it is not their fault and that it's Parliament's fault. So if anybody is looking for blame, they should blame Parliament because it is Parliament's fault. What would you say to that?
You know what's funny? So Bosman Asari and his co-conspirators actually are aware that even if the process started in October and we're already late, why were you continuing the process? Why did you follow through the process, knowing very well that you may not end before the elections? In fact, I don't want to justify the Attorney General because I think he's not a very wicked human being. The things he's done to many people in this town is just unpardonable. But I'll reference him for the purpose of my argument. You know, for this back and forth, when the EC wrote to the AG and AG's advice, apparently AG had advised them that, look, to avoid a constitutional crisis, let these people vote for parliamentary in the Boem constituency. Right. Something that's beginning, which sounds somewhat plausible, not the ideal situation, right, but then somehow related and say, okay, it's better than not having anybody at all. They never bothered. In fact, the AG used the word, what's it called, constitutionally unsound, by preventing people of SALL from voting. Right. So the government's own lawyer knows that what they did was wrong. And so I'm surprised that and I'm saying that Bosman Asari knows that if you started the process, contrary to what they claimed, they didn't know when Parliament would go on recess, but they knew when it started, October 9th. And you knew very well that even if October 9th had come, but the dates were not going to add up. In any case, what stopped you? Assuming you couldn't do anything before the elections. After the elections, what stopped you? And Parliament is a master of its own rules. Anything else could have happened for us to be represented. You know, I keep making the point that if this deliberate disenfranchisement of SALL by the EC had happened in the Ashanti region, for instance, in any other region that my friends in the NPP are very well represented and very loud. You know, they are very loud, sure, really. You think this would have happened? You think 4 years on, 30,000 people within Ashanti region really would not have been represented? Really? It wouldn't happen. Although the EC doesn't respect the people of SALL, doesn't respect ordinary Ghanaians, and doesn't respect their own rules of being fair. I wonder why they even have transparency and fairness as their motto on their letterhead.
What is the EC's interest in not seeing the people of SALL vote?
First of all, I'm not able to tell, except to say that I think they played themselves into this grand plan by the government to deliberately make a win. Because it's called gerrymandering, really. You know, you can gerrymander by constitutionally changing boundaries, right, or by force evicting people, right, which is what the EC actually played into. So the EC somehow fiscally, well, virtually, more or less, took us out of the elections because they knew that if they had brought the ballot boxes, would have voted in Hawaii anyway. Right. And Amaru won by how many votes? If 30,000 people, and that area is largely NDC, right, they would have voted for their candidate anyway. So Amaru would have lost. Sure. So anyway, by the way, so the EC's interest is essentially being a pliant tool in the whole grand larceny that led to this disenfranchisement. I think they played a huge role. They were aware of it. I don't believe they were not aware, given the things they've said the lies they've been peddling, I now believe firmly that the EC was complicit in this grand plan to this. But Damboche is the only other person I totally blame. If he had made certain comments my elders had prior to this whole thing happening, right. He claims he's not unfairly targeting, but he's been irresponsible, very, very irresponsible. To think that for a very long time, he's not spoken about this matter, and the city is now here he's doing campaign for, he's the chairman of the campaign for Bawumia. How ironic. To think that people like this are helping people who want to run the affairs of the country, but are not interested in making sure that people they are deliberately disenfranchised are actually brought into the free.
Okay. So with what the Electoral Commission is saying, I mean, and look at the processes, does it look like the people of Central Kofi, Apafu, Lolobi, Likwe will vote in the 2024 elections?
It's a good question, but I think I'm speaking to some top lawyers, and they are telling me that if care is not taken, you know, the assumption is that the Guan constituency has been created. Yeah. So because it's been created, then there are issues. But you see, the district, the creation of that district is an error. Because as we speak, that district has actually not properly been created. You know why? But the schedule that created, that mentioned the SALL areas as part of the district that were created, fortunately did not describe SALL as a district. It said SALL traditional areas. Meanwhile, the schedule was creating district, the other district that had been created, but their names were mentioned as district. Right. But SALL was not mentioned as a district, but only said SALL traditional areas. Now, that is unknown to the law. So, which is also deliberate, is that? Well, even if it's not deliberate, now you can't put anything, but if it's not deliberate, that ought to be cured. Right. Those are the issues we decided to cure. Supreme Court here. The Supreme Court thought otherwise. I don't even understand this whole thing, by the way. So what has happened is that if in the unlikely event that, the likely event that a candidate like the NDC candidate wins, I foresee an MPP candidate who is smart going to court to say, no, this district was not properly created. And because of that, the constituency created out of it is also illegal. Anything can happen. Now that the way the courts are the way they are, you never know.
Wow. And what has been what is the feedback like on the ground? What are you picking on the ground from the traditional?
Well, people are very angry, especially given yesterday's very delinquent letter the EC wrote. They couldn't believe it. People were calling from villages were like, what? The EC is saying they were not complicit, they were not, they didn't play a lead role. Who issued the letter? Yeah. If the EC had a good conscience that my people, elders have come to meet you, 30th November, 1st December, you assure them, you vote in their constituency. Then you issue this presser on the eve of an election, 6 hours to the vote, that they can't vote. Nobody. It's only the EC, this special breed of people in Bosman, Asarij, in Mensa, and Stribor, who can do this kind of thing. They are not human.
And I know earlier you talked about the fact that when we lose a parliamentary candidate, quickly we organize, we find the resources to organize a by-election.
Agog with happiness, trying to say, we will deliver, don't worry, we'll do everything right. They deliver within weeks. John Kumar,
yes, they've done Ejisu
not long ago, but Ejisu by-election has been held.
We did Asin North for
Asin North. After carelessly taking Jashikwesin of the ballot. They did that. So I don't understand.
So this is not the only issue that Imani Africa is raising with the Electoral Commission. They've also raised the issue of procurement issues, and this has to do with 2020 election. Prior to that, the Electoral Commission purchased some machines, BVDRs, and scanners, and photocopy cameras, and whatnot. Millions of dollars was spent on that. Now, the Electoral Commission has gotten rid of those machines, and Imani Africa has raised some serious issues. They didn't just raise those issues. They talked about it constantly in the media, but they have gone ahead and petitioned the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice to investigate further, because they believe that it was done in bad faith. Those machines could have probably been used, and they want transparency and accountability. I want you to walk me through when did this, okay, so Imani, look, we need to go into this. Let's look into this. And then when you approach the electoral committee, what was the response before you got to Shraj?
Again, thank you. Again, like the SALL matter, this whole thing started from 2020.
Right.
In January 2020, out of the blue, the EC issued a statement that all the biometric equipment verification machines they had and the BVDs, the BVDs are the ones that they're the receptacle against which you use. BVRs are those who collect the information. That's what you use in collecting voter data and all of that.
Okay.
Whether scanners, cameras, and laptops and all that. The EC said all those materials in their possession had come to the end of life.
Obsolete.
They were dead.
Right.
When we saw the statement, we said, no. Immediately we said, these people want to procure something.
Right.
So we started asking. We went to Parliament and asked for records. Anyway, that statement, the issue said, all the machines were procured from 2011. So they are come to the end of life cycle. We said, but that cannot be. Even if some of them were, it's not, you see, it's not every part of all machines, all parts that could be destroyed.
Right.
Some parts will still be working. Laptops will be working, cameras will be working, a few things will be working. You see, these are not daily materials you use daily.
Absolutely.
They are not mobile phones.
Absolutely.
Use them once in a while.
Absolutely. I mean, I have cameras I procured in 2011. I still use them. Just in the head. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I saw a video of a refrigerator in Otunfu's Palace, apparently bought in 1974 years.
Yes, 70 years.
If it were the EC, they would have procured new crap. Right. So we saw that and we said no. We knew that consistently the EC, before prior to the coming of this special 3 people, the EC had been upgrading equipment that we had. And they've been returning elections with error rates that were lower. 2012, the error rates were around 12% or something. 2016, the error rate had come to about 9%. Right. And by 2016, the error rates were about 3%, which meant that it's like old wine. The more you old wine skin, the more you pour. Old wine, they say, tastes better than. But we also understood that at some point you probably will replace some of the BVR kits because they may be probably wobbly. But then we saw something. When we looked through, they said from 2011. But that cannot be because Charlotte purchased 500 of these BVR kits, paid, the Auditor General's report showed that they paid 22 million Ghana cedis by the end of December 2016, 30th December 2016. Charlotte had then completed paying XTL. 500 BVR kits, 2016. They cannot be dead by 2020. It's not possible. Right. Then these same EC people, when they came into office, procured BVR kits, 2,000 of them in 2018, procured 1,005 of them in 2019. These are records from parliamentary proceedings. Finance Ministry, we also checked the Finance Ministry, and we checked against the Auditor General's report. They were properly represented and accounted for. They were bought, replaced. The terminology there is replaced. They were not refurbished. You remember they claimed that if you refurbish, you spend more. Yeah. They didn't refurbish these machines, but they replaced them. Right. So they bought in 2018, 2019. We said no. So all these machines are not from 2011. Sure. So where are those machines? As we speak today, Jean Mensa, Sriko, whatever they call him, Bosmasari, they've not for once replied to that since 2020. Since we started this campaign, they've not for once acknowledged this fact. In any case, they went ahead and procured new machines. In procuring those new machines, they actually rigged the process as well. We saw the tender process, the entity tender committee reports, and they realized that they rigged the process in favor of their favorite candidate. How did they do it? So you see, when you are doing procurement, you probably, sometimes you award marks based on the strength of whatever the client or the bidder is presenting. So if maybe for simplicity, for innovation, you award this marks. If you are reviewing those processes and you don't look at the individual scores, you only go and look at the end score, you'll be in trouble. Yeah. We've seen that many times. Right. So we found out that the EC, in tabulating the scores deliberately, of course the scores could have been, in fact, for the two categories, the total scores I think could have come to 85 plus 13. It's about 98, right? 85 plus 13 is 98, right? So the total scores of the company that won was around 85 plus 13, which would have been 98. You know what the EC did? They wrote 106. So the second company got like 102, which should have won the bid. Right. So they rigged the rules, and we are not making it up. In fact, this petition we sent to Shrag is there. We published this thing in 2020. We were so convinced the EC was pathologically lying that we went all the way to Asantini. We used our own money, flew to Kumasi in 2020 to say that this EC should not procure new machines because money we don't have. Yeah. And because they lack basic arithmetic, they don't even understand that when we say we lost $150 million, they say they did it. That they saved the country money. How could you have saved the country money when you had discarded machines we've invested $60 million in at the time of the disposal? Yeah. You dispose all of them, you claiming they are come to the end of life cycle, and spend another $70 million procuring new ones, plus another $20 million in software purchases and all of that. 90 plus 60 is what? Is it not 150? Yeah. We didn't even add the cost of registration and all of that. So almost $200 million. And they did that, wasted this country's money. And you remember the IMF boss came recently to and said the way we spent on elections was one of the reasons why we're an economic mess. So our battle with these people have been about shady contracts, and then very just wastefulness. In any case, that matter, people didn't want to hear it, but we believed that the EC was complicit and was wrong. Then we just heard recently that they had disposed of these machines. I said, but wait a minute. Yeah. First of all, how did you dispose these machines of? The machines have critical data that you need to dispose of them. You need to dispose them of properly. There are protocols guiding the disposal of electronic equipment. It's not just any other waste material that you dispose of. We were sure that they didn't follow the entire process. We looked at the processes, and some of the companies they mentioned were recycling companies, but not companies that had expertise in actually using those equipment. And we said, look, for crying out loud, these machines that you procure, that you claim you added to the so-called discarded machines, you could have saved the country money by giving those machines to some other people. But you know what we believe at Imani? I think they cleverly did not buy the number of machines they said they would buy in 2020. Inflated the numbers, right. And then made sure that these machines were slaughtered. Because we saw the machines, we had video evidence that showed that some of these machines that they claim had come to the end of life cycle were actually used in the election. But I met a gentleman at Kofodia who happens to be a senior person within EC who told me, we use those machines. We did. So what they are forgetting is that when they lie...
So who is benefiting from all this? Is it, I mean, I shudder to think and
again, I tell you, you know the story of the dummies, the story of I'll probably remember the story later. I think maybe some people are just too happy to please officialdom. Because I don't understand why you do this. After the tender rigging and all of that, maybe a politician and maybe the EC itself may be benefiting. I don't know. But clearly speaking, they rigged the rules to the extent that the entity tender committee chairman, the one who sat and foresaw, basically superintended on the process, said, God, the process was so bad, he recused himself from the process. Wow. Yes, he did. These are all documented proof. We don't make these things up. I mean, can I make up 85 plus 13 and come and tell you it's 98? No. We saw them. In fact, the committee members were not even qualified. There was a guy who had just finished law school the day before, was added to the committee to review a contract worth $70 million.
Wow.
It's astonishing. It's sickening. If you ask for this one, crap, they say, yeah, Kelly, you will weep and cry at the same time. You can maybe later on Kelly, the same process, fraudulent procurement process, and that lady is still paying a fictitious company $1.5 million for money every month up until from 2018 for no work done. I don't know what's happening to this Kufado's country.
What do you think happened? What do you think what has gone wrong with the electoral commission? Because I mean, if I remember what they did to Madame Charlotte Osei for procurement breaches and how she was literally hauled out of her office, and I did not anticipate or envisage anything close to what we're experiencing.
If Charlotte Osei's sins were to be graded, I'll say that these are probably just a minute aspect of that. But these people are just the Lucifer themselves. I mean, they are the real corporates. They've done so much wrong. They've done so many shady things, and it's sickening. So, Charlotte, in fact, they should be hard anyway. I don't know how the election should go. However it goes, these people must not be there. Never. You
mean the current people at the Electoral Commission?
No, they shouldn't be there. If Baumia wins, we would make sure we press that. If John wins, it's even easier. Right. Because they'll pack their bags even before, because they know their fate already. First of all, they're incompetent. I'll never employ people like that anywhere close to Imani as dog catchers. I'll never do that. Never.
And they are unapologetic about it.
Unapologetic. They are brazen.
Yeah.
They are so dishonest. I couldn't believe my eyes when I read the statement.
Yes, I read that too, and I'm glad your response came like immediately.
The funny thing, people are asking them on their own social media platform, so what did you do? You waited all this while to tell us this? We already know what you did. What have you done? It's like you are taking me out of my broken home. My home was not broken by the way. So you want to give me a beautiful life. Then you couldn't give me that life, and you've left me by the roadside to the elements, and I'm there like an internally displaced person in my own country.
But Mr. Franklin Cudjoe, just hang on a bit for me. We're taking our very first break. When we come back from the break, I would want to find out from Mr. Franklin Cudjoe if they've had a response. First of all, how has the public response been like? If Shraj has responded, and what they expect, moving forward. And then I would ask him about the campaign. I mean, there's a lot happening. Mr. John Mahama was first to go out, then he left. He's back. He was in the Ashanti region. Mr. Baumia is also on the campaign trail and making promises and retracting and saying there were jokes. What does he make of the current political atmosphere? We'll be right back. Right, so if you've just joined us, you're watching One on One. My guest is the President of Imani Africa, President and CEO of Imani Africa, Mr. Franklin Cudjoe. We talked about the issue of the Santrokofi, you call it SALL, but it's Santrokofi, Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi. They were disenfranchised in 2020. We talked about the likelihood that they may or may not vote in the elections. And the probability is very high, it can go either way, but he also raised the issue of that very incident of disenfranchising over 30,000 people not happening in the stronghold of the NPP in the Ashanti region. And feels like the people there have been disrespected. Beyond disenfranchisement, they have been disrespected. We also are on the issue of the Electoral Commission's discarding materials that they claim were from 2010 all the way to 2020, but they got rid of them with some paltry sum. And they have gone before the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, asking them to further investigate because they want transparency and accountability to ensuring that Ghana's money is wisely used, especially at a time when we are in an economic crisis. Mr. Franklin, have you had a response from the Shraj first?
Yes, we've received official response, basically saying they'll get back to us. They are looking at the and they'll get back to us. Okay.
What was the response like publicly when you put it out that, look, we've petitioned the Shraj, and what were you expecting to see?
To be fair, actually quite overwhelmed because people were like, now we actually are beginning to see where you're coming from, because the way we laid out the issues. And I was surprised because we've done this in the past 4 years anyway. So people were pleasantly happy and said, okay, look, this is a way to go. Some people said you should go to court. And I said, court, I am not too sure, because my experience over a Kearney-related matter, when the judge said rather irresponsibly that if you don't know and you lose this case, we'll surcharge you against the state. And I said, I told the team, stop this case, because you're not likely to get a fair hearing. It's unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. So I said the court, no. I was in the Supreme Court one time, so I see they were fighting the lawyer. I was surprised. Then I asked the lawyer, is that what happens here? I said, how can I be there? Yeah, and high court there. I'm mercy for my man. Complete comedy. I mean, anyway, let me just leave it there. But there are judges that I respect a whole lot. I mean, there are a lot of beautiful minds in the judiciary. But I thought not to go and waste my time in the court. I wouldn't. No, not under the current dispensation. I would not. So, not that we hope that everything will go well with Shraj, not that we find Shraj a bit more, they are a constitutional body, anybody can petition them anyway. And I think they carry themselves quite well in the not too distant past. So, however it goes, we just want to put on record that we did what we did. We were interested in making sure this country doesn't lose money. Because, Bridget, I tell people, even today somebody was asking me on the platform, you cry, what work do you do? People assume that we find leisure in doing some of these things.
They don't appreciate the work of CSOs and think tanks or what?
I mean, I'd say that we raise money competitively to do most of the work we do. If you go on our website, all the work we do paid for. Nobody pays for us going after Kearney GVG, going after EC procurement. And the amount of time we spend in writing. When I meet my international partner, I'm like, you guys have got some nerve. The way you write and all of that. People don't believe that advocacy work takes much more of my time. I'm asking myself, I'm on a project, the British High Commission government has asked me to be deputy country lead for a project. And I'm not boasting, but I'm supposed to be earning something beyond, probably more than $1,000 a day. And I've left that work, and I'm sitting here focusing on an EC that is delinquent, wasting my time doing all of this. For what? For the love of the country. That's our motivation. And I think people should take a cue from this. It's not everybody who, and the people think we are doing it, it's political. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, Imani has been very consistent, and that's why I respect your work so
Bridget,
much. I mean, when John Mahama was president, I remember the press conferences, you know, whether it was on schools, on...
And John didn't have it easy.
No, right? At all, he did not.
To be frank with you, he didn't. And which is why recently, some time ago, I actually said sorry to him, because I think that we were not that unfair to him, but some of the things that happened...
But he was tolerant, regardless of the criticism.
Very, very tolerant. Right. I mean, John, no matter what happened, my mom passed, John called me, oh, I'm sorry, I could have come. I mean, that respect was there. I mean, John, really respectable, truly a true gentleman. But my friends under this administration, anyway, let me not get there. But I think the level of intolerance is it
that they just don't want to be treated with the same spoon or ladle that they used against the previous administration?
Well, I think to some extent, you know, the problem with the MPP, or MPP's problem is that because they are quite, I mean, they are vocal.
Absolutely.
And both some people are quite vocal, and they believe that they ought to be heard most of the time, which is something which is really, really good. But they have the media most of the time on their side, which is another thing the NDC has not done well on. So when things happen, they can blow it, and then all of a sudden make the whole country look like an ungovernable place. Right. And unfortunately, not that we played a role, we were doing our work. I mean, I still believe that the work we did prior to 2016 was valid, and which is why we've now given these people
And it showed in the elections. I mean, it showed in the elections.
Well, to be fair,
And,
I think this administration, though, has, I think Nado has eroded all forms of respect for his legacy. I think he's leaving a terrible legacy, and I'm worried that maybe that's why Bawumia is distancing himself from some of the things, by the way, but such a terrible legacy. Nobody thought would get here, really. And you see, because of that terrible legacy, everybody does whatever they want, which is why the EC can behave the way they behave, because nobody will hold account. If Charlotte did what she did, and just like a conveyor belt, the presidency received a petition, these guys have gone past, be careful, but it's amazing. Anyway, yes.
Does the Electoral Commission really have it in them to rig the elections? Based on what they I mean, and the kind of appointments that we've seen. I think there was a photo of the IT person.
But that was just circumstantial. Every day he was laughing and so happy
to be in Bawumia's company. I mean,
it's natural.
I mean, but people have a right to also have fear and say, look, how is our IT director at EC with the vice president who is the presidential candidate of the NPP? So that's why I asked the question. Does the EC have it in them to rig the elections for the NPP?
Like my famous proverb that if you are accused of seducing the chiefs, you don't go to the palace to wriggle your waist. Point really is that if you EC, you have issues, people doubt you. Look at the things they keep doing. There's so much doubt about this EC. People don't trust the EC. Many people, many Ghanaians, over 70% of Ghanaians don't trust the EC. To think that you have this low trust, and then you have an officer of yours laughing somewhat sheepishly, just because he's happy, it doesn't send the right signal. I don't really care that much.
Okay.
I don't think the EC can deliberately rig the elections. I don't think they can do that, but they can do certain things that will further that thought.
Right.
Look at the collation centers they brought the last time. Completely useless, which led to the deaths of many people.
8 people.
These guys, they've never even apologized. No. Because Nado did not apologize. So they took a cue and did not apologize. Right? Look at this other silly, excuse my language, thing they came up with, that district centers would be the place people
central to go and register. Yes.
How silly. How you don't even think.
To deny, so if you can't afford, for instance, transportation to go there, you are sort of legally disenfranchised. Yeah.
You know, when they do that, and then they come and tell you that the cost of the cost of elections have gone, and it's now is lower than before. They don't even get it. If you make me pay so much money to go and register and to move from there to go and vote, that cost is incidental to me. Yeah. It doesn't. I'm just so, I don't know what to say about this EC, but I think that Ghanaians should be very wide awake. What happened in SALL could happen into any constituency at all. Right. Nobody should take it lying low. They should follow their statement, every statement they make. And I'm happy Ghanaians have seen that. Some of the figures they put out even for this limited registration, they had to change. Yes. Ghanaians are wide awake. These people can see yellow and tell you it's red and believe it. Yeah. They will do it. So I can't answer whether they can help rig, but they can do silly things to subvert people's will. Yeah, they can. I won't put it past them.
Okay. I am sure you've seen the two leading presidential candidates of the two major political parties, the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress. Let me start with one that just came up. Mr. Mahama saying that he would employ the service of using technology, artificial intelligence, in the help fight against illegal mining, which is like a big headache. Just want to pick your thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong using AI to do so many things. I mean, look, AI does so many things for us these days, right? I mean, we can, even on our WhatsApp channels, we can ask questions and we get instant answers. So really, I don't see the problem with John suggesting that you use AI to fight with what I'm saying. It probably means sophisticated drones with some laser guided. It's possible. There are all kinds of things that could be done. So is anybody complaining? I suspect It's a good thing. In fact, I think I saw some memes by some NDC people saying,
Right.
"Oh, what is he talking about?" And I was asking myself, but you are the same people saying digitalization can help propel development. So if Mama is saying
Has tapped into it,
same thing, what's the problem? Just be happy, you know. So I think it's not a bad idea. Look, it's a no-brainer because we didn't use purchase drones to do this stuff. What did we use all that money for? We don't even know where the drones are, whether they have died, they've migrated, they've been buried. Nobody knows.
Okay, Dr. Bawumia, two very important issues that came up. One, he raised the issue of taxes in the churches, and he says churches have schools. They have hospitals, and their contribution without it, our economy will collapse. And so the issue of taxing should not even come in play. Rather, we should be looking at paying churches. Of course, he went on another platform and said, look, I misspoke. It was just a joke. And so he took that back. That's one point. The second point is that when on his campaign, and a young lady asked him a question about trainee allowance that they have not received for years, and she's about to finish. And then he said this. He would ask the finance ministry to ascertain if indeed they've not been paid for the years that she's talking about and see what he can do. And then again, he goes on another platform and say, okay, he has directed or asked the finance ministry that they are going to release 177 million to them to be paid. Now, my question on these is this. Now, you have a candidate who goes on a platform and say, okay, a serious issue, and say, I was joking about it. The same candidate says, I am a mate, I don't have a power, but somehow has the power to tell the finance ministry to release 170 million. Can such a candidate be trusted? That's my question. Does it? Yeah.
What a loaded question. It's an excellent question, by the way. You know, politicians are so least trusted in this country, probably across Africa, to the extent that, I mean, if you're a politician and obviously you make certain statements, be careful, because especially in an election year, they'll come and bite you. That's what Bawumia has been caught in, unfortunately. Sure. I think the first issue about the taxes to churches, I actually was asking myself, was there a debate?
Nobody raised the issue about taxes. He mentioned it.
So maybe maybe he thought he could generate a conversation, but nobody really said nobody should pay tax. I don't think NDC has said churches should pay tax. Nobody has said so. I think they've been, GRA and the rest, they have been entertaining these thoughts for some time. So that was a policy conversation. I mean, if I went to a church and I'm campaigning, I'll just ask for blessings and wish the people well and tell them that we'll be there for them and support them, we'll partner them in development. I could shower praise on them and say they are schools, they are good. But if there's no debate, I don't even have to start one. For me to come and later say that I'm joking. I didn't think he was joking when he said that he would support, churches should be supported, and I don't think that was a joke. I don't think it was a joke when he said that churches should not be taxed to pay taxes. Even though he was setting his own questions and answering them, but there were serious policy issues which ought to be discussed. So I think the jocular nature of some of this encounters must be reduced. I think he should stay on message and reduce a bit of the jokes a bit, and that he'll be fine. The other point about the teacher trainee allowance, is it nursing or teacher training?
Nursing trainee allowance. I mean,
together with the
they're all
teacher training.
Yeah, they're all in the same basket.
I don't even, well, maybe, so this nurses graduate, they sit at home, they don't have work to do, they are paid while they are in school, and they come out and we don't know what to do with them, probably export them and get some money. I don't even understand this whole thing. If there's no money to pay, just say there's no money, but you should have at least known before going to. And to say that he's directed the finance ministry, not appealed, but directed, then he's no longer.
He said, no, so now he said they've told him that 170 will be made available. So he said he was going to put in a word for them. And now confirmed that indeed they will release it and should be paid on the 16th. So it means that, in fact, the teachers and nursing trainees should be getting their money on the day of the recording.
Well,
how does somebody who doesn't have power, does it hurt him in terms of his character, his competence as a candidate who would say something so serious, come back to say, I was joking. And then again, the same breath, you say, I have no powers, I make no decisions, I'm not responsible, it's all my boss. You throw him under the bus, then come back and say, okay, I have the power, I've told them, so they are going to release the funds. Does that hurt him politically?
To some extent, you see, because the challenge here is that I mean, Bawumia, we all knew, carried himself as the economic whiskey. Everybody knew that. Savomafo confirmed it and all of that. Personally, my encounter with Bawumia shows that he's an extremely excellent professional and all of that. But yes, but the economy has become the way it has become. So is it that because he was a driver's mate, he was not being listened to by the finance minister, who happened to have a mind of his own, by the way, or just that he wasn't able to convince anybody in cabinet? Because I think that also shows your power that you have. Right. I mean, I'll be remiss that I mean, as vice president, he didn't have any power at all. I'm sure he had some power at cabinet to say that, look, we don't want this, we want this, we want that. And I know that for a fact. He's had some conversations where he's mentioned certain things that, to me, that I believe strongly that he had so much power to stop it or do. So, yes, we can pick and choose what aspect of our political lives we should describe as having power or limited power, but certainly not in the public domain to be saying these things. I sincerely did not like the idea when he said he was a driver's mate, he was not there. It didn't gel with me one bit, because I felt, no. We knew you far better than this. You can't just be a conveyor belt. You can't just be a mere assistant. You're an assistant.
What do you think went wrong for Dr. Bawumia? Did something really go wrong, or he was they sold him, higher than probably they should have, in terms of his capacity, capability, in terms of what he could really do in the economy, on the economy?
Well, I'm not too sure about being oversold than actually he's selling himself, which he's done creditably. I think he sold himself quite well during the petition. So we started seeing some of the signs that this person is thorough and all kinds of things, which was not bad. But getting to an election of this nature, becoming a leader of this country in this particular dispensation right now requires that finesse of a leader who must have control over many things. Sure. I think that is where Bawumia's prowess, if he's acquired them, would come to bear. At this juncture, I am worried that there's a thin line between the comment he made about being a driver's mate and then actually being in the driver's seat. Sure. Because all of us, many people eulogized him. Some of us saw his handiwork and we thought, okay, but now he's giving a bit of the diffidence.
Isn't it someone who is escaping responsibility? I mean, his inability to even admit that there are challenges and maybe, I don't know, for want of a better, maybe failed, and because of maybe the situation we find ourselves, is that not why perhaps, he's in this?
Which beats my mind really, because I know for close quarters, he has not been happy with certain decisions the finance minister took. Right. I'm aware of that. Okay. So I don't think he's the last person to be shoring up these same failed people and make them look like they are pristine. Sure. And to say that he's a driver's mate and he'll be different actually speaks volumes. Right. But he needs to be clear that going forward, people want to take him serious and he needs to be. I don't think running away from the economy is helping. But the city is now 50.
Yes.
And it's going beyond the roof. He needs to address those issues. Actually, how to bring back the city. But the city is broken jail. So it's very important. And he needs to address this economic issue. Digitalization is fine. I think there's there's too much emphasis on digitalization. Because my theory is that digitalization would have happened anyway in this country, anyway, because it was happening everywhere. So if it shepherded a few, it's okay. Let's move on and talk about how to fix the structure of the economy which people are really looking out for.
Okay. And my final two questions. First one is Mr. Elvis Efriankara, former sports minister, raised a point in an interview that CSOs are silent or have become silent about what is happening. Is that a fair comment? And I'm asking that, is it a blanket statement? Can he speak to, specifically who or which CSOs?
Maybe when they say something like that, they mean the number of CSOs that were active during Muhammad's time.
Right.
Some of the leading voices, some of the elites that are friends in Occupy Guy that you no longer hear of. Maybe that's what they mean. But in terms of civil society work, there's a lot of work being done by my colleagues in the civil society space. Just that they are not probably sensational issues like the way we devote our precious time to do this advocacy.
Right.
Because not everybody who really has the time and maybe the wherewithal to do this analysis and do it. And not many people like to be in the face and basically put themselves in harm's way like we love to do. We have said to ourselves, we hold a source of Damocles. If you come our lane, we'll chop you into pieces. And it's something we constantly want to do, even if we have to stop our work that is paying properly.
How is your honorary vice, Rice Simmons?
Yes.
How is he doing? I know there's an issue with the Fidelity, I think, ECG, where at the time he mentioned that they were selling the dollar. It was even 13.95. You see how laughable that thing is. Now it's 15 cities. I'm wondering how much they're selling. And with the court cases, having to look for resources and the hazards of doing these public.
To be fair, I don't think that court case should have moved on the way it should. I have a strange feeling somebody is just interested in pulling strings.
Right.
And it's not the best at all. Right. We have a fair idea who that is.
Right.
We don't really care that much, but we think that this matter could have been solved easily by Fidelity saying, look, it's not true, the references to that, and this matter ends. But to then go to court and make it look as though, because the person was reporting some official records.
Yes.
And if he says he's used a word you don't like, sorry,
take the word out.
just sorry, or just issue a statement saying, no, it's not us, and then leave it there. You're right, the city is, dollar is now 15. 15,
it makes this even laughable, to be honest.
I don't think it's a good
By the way, the same Fidelity, they have an issue with, I believe, Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, where they requested for a loan of 5 million. They ended up paying 8 million, the same Fidelity Bank. I don't know, maybe they are going to sue me for also saying this, and now they are demanding of them the money that the KMA had not even requested for. I mean, it's such a humongous mistake. And to think that they are chasing someone like Bright Simmons, who has dedicated his life to public advocacy. I mean, some of the things that he brings out, I always say this, I follow him. When he puts something else, I know he's meticulous. He's not sensational, doesn't just put things out that he's not verified. So it's crazy that they would target him and try and see if they could shut him up. I mean, for some of us, he has in us lifetime fans, so he shouldn't worry. We'll continuously support them, but Fidelity should get his house in order and deal with the KMA issues. I think that is more embarrassing, that I would request for a loan of 5 and then you give me 8 million. They use the money. Now you're back to say you want your 3 million back, and they say, look, we didn't even ask for 8 million in the first place. So we'll see how that case also play out. My guest on the show was Mr. Franklin Cudjoe, founding president and CEO of Imani Africa. I want to say a big thank you so much for honoring our invitation and coming.
It's a pleasure.
To see this. One more thing before we go.
Sure.
I know the parties wanted serial numbers of the machines they were using for the registration to just keep track. Would that make any difference?
I was wondering why the NDC was. When they asked for serial numbers of BVR kits, what did they want? Did they want serial numbers of laptops or scanners or cameras or printers? Okay. I don't know. Maybe they want the laptops. Yeah, they said they have them. They said they have. They
said both NDC and NDP took them.
According to Boss Basari, but you see, it goes to the heart of the matter that they don't trust the EC. Right. But the EC claims on 10 were missing. Yeah. They were not even clean.
Yeah, initially they said 5. NDC said 7. Then they came back and it's all a mess. Terrible. Wow. Anyway. Thank you. Well, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you for watching. You can leave your comments on all our social media platforms. My name is Bridget Otu. We're back next week. Good evening.
Dedi kama amena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.